Welcome back, everyone. So, today I want to talk about a concept that really drives me crazy. It's one that I really can't stand. It's a pet peeve of mine, and I see a lot of people do it. A ton of people do it in, different domains, different situations in life, and that is gatekeeping. And this is something that could really affect a lot of people's mental health because it really makes them feel disrespected and, it creates situations where they become restricted in progressing through life. So let's talk about it. So, what is gatekeeping, right? It's this kind of practice of controlling access to information, opportunities, maybe even clubs, communities, resources, or cultural participation. And this is often done by setting, some kind of barriers that are either unnecessary, they're not even needed in the first place, or they're just exclusionary in nature. So they just don't want a particular group of people, regardless what their background is, to participate. So in a way, you can think of gatekeeping as a common form of discrimination. When you really think about it, it's just discrimination. It's just it's just synonymous with it, and I'll prove the point today. So, what are some concrete examples of gatekeeping in real life? So, first and foremost, think about education and knowledge, right? So, you may have like experts who refuse to explain, certain concepts and phenomenon to newcomers, right? New people, outsiders, because they haven't earned it, right? They haven't earned that right to be exposed to this information, so they don't want them to know about it. And their noses are in the air, which is fucking ridiculous. Or maybe think about like academic research that's just locked behind like an expensive paywall on Patreon or Stack Overflow or something, right? So this makes it inaccessible to the public. Maybe you have to pay a lot of money, like the Bloomberg terminal, if you want economic information. Got to pay something like upwards of 30, 40K a year. I don't remember what it is, just to have critical data that can help you make better investing decisions, right? How to invest better in the stock market or crypto or something. So that could be an example. Or maybe professionals who are withholding information that could help you learn a skill, right? Maybe that skill is related to research. Maybe that skill is related to calculating some difficult formulas. Maybe it's something related to inventing something or creating chemicals, whatever it is, right? They don't want you to know about it. They think like this gives them an edge. This gives them a significant advantage over you. Or maybe they like the fact that they know some skills and you don't. So it's kind of like this annoying dick measuring contest, right? It gives them this like superiority complex over you, which is kind of childish and stupid. And yeah, this is harmful because it's going to slow the spread of knowledge. Less people have access to educational, academic information. It's going to limit social mobility. So if there's a bunch of poor people from different races, cultures, backgrounds, they're not going to be able to progress in life because maybe that information could have helped them land a career or something. And we'll talk about careers in a second as well. It's one of the worst kinds of gatekeeping, and it's the one that I'm personally sensitive to the most, and I've ended friendships over it. And I'll get to that in a second. So yeah, and finally, when you gatekeep education and knowledge, maybe you're gonna have this concentration of a small group of experts or something, rather than this just broadening of education where everyone has this common knowledge of whatever it is, like something about nutrition, maybe something about eye disease, whatever it is. So let's talk about gatekeeping in terms of employment and career. So a moment ago, I just discussed how it affects education, knowledge, academics. But now, what about employment, like jobs and stuff, right? So one way, companies, let's say, can apply gatekeeping is by telling you that you need to have worked for X amount of years, an arbitrary amount of years, if you want to get this crappy, shitty, brainless, brain dead entry level job. I mean, think about it, how fucking stupid it is. It's something that requires no skill, no knowledge, at least not extensive knowledge. It's something maybe they can even train you in a matter of minutes, or maybe you don't really need training for the most part. But the person who's hiring you, this manager or whoever it is, they're not going to hire you unless you have a couple of years worth of experience. And so, yeah, that's a common example. And it's really frustrating, especially people who are on the verge of becoming homeless and they need that entry level job or those entry level jobs in their area badly, like they can't wait forever. A hiring manager can easily set this kind of stringent requirement to block them out. Another way we can see gatekeeping in terms of employment and careers is like when hiring is primarily or mainly done through connections, right? Personal connections rather than your skill or your merit. And this one really burns because you could be a dude who, for example, you're applying to a tech company or something, and you have 5 years experience in software development or something, or app development, let's say. And maybe you have a master's, right? And some other dude gets the job because he knows somebody who works there. Maybe his brother works there, or he has a friend who works there, or a classmate from university, or at the time he went to university. So something like that can put their application over yours, even if they don't have a master's, even if they have less years of experience than you do, or no experience for that matter. And that sucks. It's a shitty feeling because you feel like you busted your ass for many years. You really tried to be an all-around person, character, worker, yet in the end, it doesn't really matter, like the Linkin Park song. Another way we notice gatekeeping is like when it comes to professional licensing requirements that are just unnecessarily burdensome or troublesome. So, maybe there are some Asian Americans, maybe they're applying for some kind of difficult STEM related position where they want to become like, I don't know, maybe they're trying to become a CEO, let's say, or CFO of some major companies in finance or tech or something. And then the companies kind of shift the goalposts and they say, oh, we look at your resume, your work experience, blah, 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 your degree. Everything looks fine on paper, but you're missing a few extra certificates. Maybe if you consider getting those, we'll think about hiring you in the future. And maybe on the original requirement post or page, on Career Builder or some other site like LinkedIn or whatever, Monster or something, and maybe those requirements that the recruiter or hiring manager brought up weren't originally in the bullet post at all, right? But suddenly, this individual who's looking to hire people suddenly added those requirements or something, right? Something like that. Or maybe it said you need like 10 years worth of experience in a managerial role or something, but suddenly it said, no, that was a mistake. Actually, you need 13 years or something. And they do this to maybe block out these Asian Americans, right? Who are smart on paper. They've done everything they're supposed to do, but these hiring managers come up with excuses not to include them, not to hire them, perhaps, right? So think about like the 2014 Harvard situation where some Asian Americans sued Harvard because they said that they're discriminating them, right? So it's like a similar situation, except that's more related to education and knowledge, like getting a degree, but it can happen when it comes to employment and careers as well, right? When you're applying to become like a senior engineer or a tech lead, in Silicon Valley or whatever. And why is this harmful? Well, obviously it's gonna exclude, really competent, really capable individuals, right? These ideal picture perfect candidates. They've done everything you've required of them to do in order to get the job or the position. Yet you refuse to hire them. You come up with a bunch of wacky, insane excuses not to hire them. Or, it just reinforces existing inequalities. Maybe in this company, they want more whites, they want less blacks, less Asians, less Hispanics, less Middle Easterns, whatever. So it could be a cultural thing. And they'll come up with all kinds of excuses to prevent you from getting hired, perhaps. And more importantly, it just reduces or decreases, more economic opportunities for a lot of people out there, right? And it doesn't really reduce competition; it just increases it. Now you have to find like different venues, different paths to seek employment or seek at least good opportunities. And another annoying example of gatekeeping, at least outside of education and work, has to do with entertainment. Think about your hobbies, think about fan communities, right? So, some group of people telling some new guy or some random dude that they're not a real fan of whatever, of Elon Musk or of, I don't know, Formula One racing or anything, tennis or something, unless they know some obscure facts about something. Like, let's take tennis as an example. You're not a Roger Federer fan or a Novak Djokovic fan unless you know what he eats for breakfast every single day. I mean, this is stupid. It has nothing to do with the sport of tennis, right? Really something that's loosely related or unrelated, just totally obscure, totally strange, not relevant. It's not like you're asking, testing them on like, what kind of forehand does this person use? Like, how do they serve the ball? What's their return serve stat or something? This is just something totally arbitrary when you say like, oh, you don't know what their favorite lunch is. Like, who cares? Or like what breed dog they have. But there are some people that are this stupid who, act in this manner. They put others down because they don't know all these crappy trivia facts about someone or something. And, this can exclude newcomers or potential new members from things like gaming, music, sports, or other communities like art, right? And they're essentially just mocking beginners or outside, like, noobs for asking basic questions. And a good one was like one time I was on Reddit and I was on this specific video game subreddit for a video game called Sekiro. You may or may not have heard about it. It's not important, but it's about ninjas and shinobis. And in general, somebody asked like how to perform a wall jump to reach this difficult to reach ledge, something like that. And the wall jump or the space jump, whatever, this kind of Donkey Kong jump is something that was really challenging, not easy to pull off, and it requires precise timing, right? And a lot of people were stuck there. So, a few people brought it up, and you could see a bunch of people laughing at them, like, "Oh, you're not good at this game. You suck. Like, if you can't pull this off, it's not that difficult." Da da da. And I've seen like a lot of similar kinds of things when it came to other video games. And why can this be harmful? Because it obviously discourages participation, right? You're excluding people from being part of a community or like some kind of interest or hobby or form of entertainment. Obviously, it makes communities less welcoming. It shows them to be toxic, close minded, hateful, right? And this limits the growth and diversity of that hobby. So maybe there's a video game, and 90% of the people on this subreddit or in that Twitch stream or Discord are all guys. And then they see like two or three women suddenly join the server or something, and they start blasting them like, "Why are you here? You probably suck at this game anyway. Like, I can kick your ass in Street Fighter 6, There's no way I'm gonna lose to a girl, blah blah blah." So you could see this kind of stupid toxic mentality in things like video games as well. It's silly, it's really stupid, but it is noticeable. I've seen gatekeeping when it comes to technology and open source code, right? So companies or individuals, they will keep technical knowledge to themselves, right? They'll keep it secret when they're like sharing something that could benefit just the broader community. And maybe that's understandable in that context to some extent, maybe not always, because maybe it's something that can hurt their sales, right? Maybe they make significant profit off that software. And if competitors get access to that code, maybe they can outperform them. But, yeah, it can create unnecessary barriers or boundaries to software development tools, right, and documentation, which could be maybe really useful or meaningful when it comes to creating new software that could potentially benefit the masses, right, billions of people. Maybe that knowledge can lead to the creation of some amazing apps that nobody's ever considered. That can be a consequence. And again, why is this harmful? So that was one reason. It slows innovation. It can prevent collaboration between experts or knowledgeable people, right? And it makes technology accessible only, to the hands of a few, right? A privileged few, which isn't kind of fair. And there's also like gatekeeping when it comes to politics, right? The political arena and civic participation. So, you can restrict like voter access through some really difficult or unnecessary hurdles. You can say something like immigrants are not allowed to vote in this country, or people who don't have a citizenship are not allowed to vote in this state. Things like that. Or people under X age or over X age can't vote. And, they can limit public access to government information sometimes, or maybe they can exclude certain groups from like policy discussions that affect them. I know of this when it came to like Native Americans in the United States and Canada. For many decades, they weren't really part of these government-based rules and policies to improve their conditions. So the people who were mostly making decisions on their behalf were white or from, other races, which is ridiculous. Imagine you've gone through hell in society, you've been mistreated, discriminated, right, destroyed, and when you want to enter the political arena, when you want to run for mayor or whatever it is, like they don't want you to be part of that, right? They want to make decisions for you. They think they know what's best for you. And again, why is it bad? Well, it reduces democratic participation, right? It's not really a democracy anymore at that point. It weakens accountability, right? That sense of civic responsibility, it's no longer there. And this can lead to like unequal representation again, right? In this case, involving race or ethnicity, right? And what about the culture and arts, right? We do see gatekeeping present there as well. So think about like cultural institutions who are just catering only to like some elite audiences, maybe just to rich people. So hey, if you want to attend this museum, you got to come from this background or make this much income. We don't want people of different backgrounds here, right? And maybe there could be like discouraging of participation or membership in things like art, music, literature, unless someone has like some kind of formal training. If you're not a formal pianist, you're not allowed to, attend this concert. You're not allowed to attend this conference, right? This symposium or whatever. And this treats certain, this is just treating certain forms of culture and values as just naturally or inherently just superior to others. Like, hey, Western art or abstract art or something is better than Eastern art, Oriental art, something like that sometimes. And again, why is it terrible? Because it just restricts creative expression. We want to think about creativity from many angles, not from, one culture or one set of values, because that would be kind of ethnocentric, would be one-dimensional, discriminatory, right? And this reinforces class and social divisions, just like I kind of mentioned already. And obviously it's going to limit just the cultural exchange and innovation of ideas that could be just flowing and permeating and just exchange among groups. But when you do this, that's no longer possible. Now, again, just to summarize, so again, why is gatekeeping often criticized? Why is it seen as something that's bad, right? Something that's evil, selfish, closed-minded? Well, when gatekeeping serves no legitimate, no rightful purpose or function, obviously, again, it creates unnecessary barriers or boundaries to opportunity for a lot of people. It reinforces existing inequalities, right? So some groups of people have this advantage or edge over others, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. It discourages learning and participation, which is not cool. It's against just the basic idea of an education and just improving yourself as a human being, to be honest. It reduces diversity of perspectives, ideas, thoughts, right? Because, there are different cultures, different economic backgrounds, different genders, different professions, and they can all pitch in, like what they think about stuff, and sometimes we can learn from that. In many cases, we even do. And the fifth way it creates problems is that it just again limits or concentrates power just among a small segment of the population. Only a small group of people have access to this knowledge or power. And that's not cool, right? That's just creating this massive divide, this massive division. Now, there are a few occasions where gatekeeping may be excusable or justified, but again, it's just for exceptional situations. This is not the norm and should never be the norm. So, the kind of moments or situations, or just thinking about the context where it is okay, it's not harmful, that can be like, let's say you're an inventor and you don't want somebody to copy your product, right? Maybe you have this code or you have this formula or this idea and you're going to invent something. If that leaks out or if somebody knows about it, they can make a superior product to yours and now you're no longer going to be successful or something. So maybe in that case, if you're a first mover or you're producing something innovative, it's best to keep it to yourself, right? Until maybe X amount of time, and then you can kind of share that, open source it or something with the rest of the community. Another great example has to do with, like, let's say, security clearances, right? For sensitive government information or government buildings. So that kind of stuff makes total sense because if everybody knows about some kind of like security related measures, then maybe that can expose vulnerabilities in a nation, in a society, and their enemies will be able to use that information against them. So when it comes to things like related to military research or some certain areas of science, maybe for some nations it's better to hold on to that information for a longer period of time so that their rivals or competitors don't have an edge on them. That's the point. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.